I'm Allison from Learning at the Primary Pond. I'm a literacy specialist, and in this video, I'm going to share with you how to use multisensory phonics activities. They don't have to be complicated or fancy to help phonics concepts stick for your students. Before we dive into this video, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, I would love for you to do that now, and then also hit the little bell so that you're notified every time I post a brand new video. Most of them are about teaching literacy. Okay, so what is multisensory learning? Multisensory learning is about getting kids to use more than one sense at a time. So sight, sound, movement, touch. And honestly, a lot of what we already do in school is multisensory, especially when it comes to reading, right? We're looking at the letters. Maybe kids are sounding them out, saying them out loud, blending. That in itself is already multisensory. But there are certain things that we can do to encourage even more multisensory integration, because it's thought that kids that, especially those that struggle with reading, often have trouble integrating information from more than one sense. And so for that reason, it's believed that multisensory instruction can be very effective. Multisensory instruction has been used to teach reading for decades and decades. It's also just more engaging and hands-on and fun, especially for our young students. Even if they're not struggling with reading, they're just learning to read. It just makes learning to read like a more memorable experience, and it helps things stick. I would love to know in the comments if you feel like you use a lot of multisensory activities already. Just type yes or no. And then even if you use a lot already, I hope that this video will just remind you of, number one, some things that you may be already doing that really are multisensory, and number two, give you some fresh ideas. So first, let's talk about some multisensory activities that literally require zero prep, zero materials, other than you deciding, of course, like what words or sounds you're gonna work on. Zero prep, zero materials, and zero mess, which is my favorite kind of activity. Okay, so one thing you can do is skywriting, or I call it writing with our invisible spray paint. So the invisible magic spray paint comes out of our fingertips like this, and we extend our full arm because, per the research to date that I've read, it is more effective to have kids, like for promoting memory, to have kids use their bigger muscle groups. Of course, they still need to learn to write the letters and do all that stuff. Like, that's very important. But with memory, like if you think about riding a bike, your larger muscles are involved in that process. You can, even if you haven't ridden a bike in 20 years, you can probably get on the bike and ride it. And so we want to use some of those larger muscles in addition to using the smaller muscles. And when we do skywriting, or writing with our invisible magic spray paint, that's one way that we can do this. But we have to make sure that kids extend their full arm. And like if we're working on the letter C, there's so many things you could say. You could have them say, right? Because again, it's not you just saying it, it's them. They are moving and tracing the letter C, and they are also saying. You could say C spells k, or maybe they just say C cat k, if you want to include a keyword in there. Whatever they say is up to you and what makes most sense with the program that you're using, but the multisensory integration here is we're using our movement, and we're also verbalizing the name and or sound of the letter. We're also using visual, right? Because we're looking at the letter card. You might have that displayed while they are doing their little skywriting. Now, you can do this on the table. You can have them do it on the table, on the rug. That can have like a bumpy, different feel. On the table and rug, they're not quite using as much of their muscles here. They're like larger muscles, but it can still be very effective. And again, no prep, no mess, pretty easy. Another thing that I will have kids do to involve like the movement and then them verbalizing stuff is they will spell high frequency words on their arms. So, and spelling aloud has been shown to be effective in getting kids to learn the spellings of words. So like, let's say I want them to learn the word the. T-H-E, the. Or maybe I want them to learn the word could. C-O-U-L-D, could. We practice high frequency words in different ways, but having them tap on their arms and say the letter names, that's something multisensory that you could easily integrate. Now, if you don't do that, something else you could do, especially with little ones, is have them, like as they're reading words or even getting ready to spell them, like if they're trying to read cat, k-a-t, cat, and then use that smooth blending motion, right? What I would not do is I would not be having them spell words out loud on their arm, like T-H-E, the, and then also having them use their arms to say the sounds and blend. Those are slightly different tasks, and I don't want to confuse them by having the same movement for both of them. So I would choose one or the other to use our arms for, and then have some other sort of multisensory task for the other. You can also have them touch different parts on their body when spelling high frequency words. T-H, and then I'm gonna touch my hips, E, the. It's up to you, right? But it's involving multiple senses. Okay, now let's move on to some activities that are going to include stuff, but it's valuable stuff. So for example, these letter tiles, having them, maybe they're trying to build cat, having them actually move, k, at, and build the word. That's great for spelling practice, also multisensory. Honestly, even you can just have them write on whiteboards. I don't always have them build words. I try to do a lot of whiteboard spelling just because I've seen that have an even greater impact, and we know that having them write letters is it's like a different level of imprinting in their minds than it is to spell words. But if you're working with a new phonics concept, it can be a little easier to build words before you have them spell words on the whiteboard. So just something to think about. But this can be multisensory. Writing on whiteboards can be multisensory. Just have them maybe they even not on the marker, but with this, they can trace after they build it, C-A-T, cat. Or, they can tap under each sound as they read it back after they've spelled it, k-at, cat. Or as they're writing it, they can say k-at, cat, right? So there's different ways to make either building words with magnetic letter tiles, or the actual letters that are in the shapes of the letters, or writing on whiteboard. That can all be multisensory. Okay, now we're gonna talk a little bit about sand writing. So this is a specific sand tray, and kids, it's hard to hold it up while also making the sand not fall down. They can write S spells S, or it can get more complicated, it can be O-A spells O. Right? So it doesn't have to be just simple letter sounds. There's all kinds of patterns that they can practice in sand. You don't have to have the fancy sandbox. You can have a plastic pencil case that they can write in. I'll usually use colored sand in there, or sometimes I will do the sturdier paper plates. I will put a thin layer of colored sand, and you can actually stack those if you have multiple students that you're working with. So those are all great ways to work on multisensory specific. You could do specific words depending on how much space they have, specific, phonics patterns or sound patterns. You can also, this is one of my favorite ways to clean the tables or the desks in the classroom. You can put shaving cream out everywhere, and they can practice writing stuff in shaving cream. It gets the desks really nice and clean too. So that's obviously a little bit more involved, but I like the sand writing because it's something that you can get out and put away pretty quickly. Okay, so now, because I like to make this really practical, let's talk about what this can look like on a daily basis. So maybe in your phonics warm-up, you're reviewing certain patterns and the kids are skywriting, and that's part of your warm-up. Maybe when you're warming up, you're doing phonemic awareness activities, and the kids are blending on their arm or doing something that matches whatever skill you're working on. That could be a brief little warm-up. Neither of those activities involve stuff, so it's going to be able to go pretty quickly, which is nice. Then maybe you introduce the new phonics skill for the day, or you're reviewing something and the kids, again, they're air writing it. Maybe they're writing it in sand. Maybe you're having them spell okay, what are the different ways that to spell the long O sound? So they're writing O-A, and maybe they learned O-E, O silent E, and they're writing all of this in their tray. So they're working on the new skill, but they're also reviewing past skills. Okay, so then maybe they're reading some words. That could be just a word list, but maybe they're tapping under the letters as they, are reading the word. And then maybe they're building some words, using their magnetic letters like we talked about. Maybe they're even writing words in a multisensory material. You could do gel bags. I didn't mention that, but that's something I do pretty regularly too, is I'll take a plastic baggie, I'll fill it with dollar store hair gel, add some coloring. I also found these little star glitter things on Amazon that I like to add, super cheap, and I'll just put it in there to make it fun. And so they can press with their finger on the gel bag. I always seal it up with painter's tape over the top just to make sure that it sticks in there, or masking tape is fine too. And so that's something that they could be doing to practice the new skill, or even spell words with the skill. When they're gonna spell words with let's say we've been working on SH, I'm gonna have them tap them out first. Sh-ed, shed. Okay, now we're gonna write, or now we're gonna build with the magnetic letters the word shed. So that can be multisensory. And then of course, when you wrap up at the end, you could bring back some skywriting, or they're writing on the table or writing on the rug just with their finger, obviously, or fingers. Okay, so that was a ton of ideas about how to integrate this into your daily phonics routine. Feel free to ask more questions, but there's something else that I want to show you first. I have a free gift for you, and the link to this is in the caption for this video. It's totally free. It's a set of phonics slides where you can, like, it'll have like an image of a different like motion that they can do, like for itchy, right? To practice different sounds. And then there will also be just like a couple of, word reading practice slides. You can display this, project it so that the kids can see it. They can learn a movement to go with whatever phonics skill they're learning. And again, that slide set, it's totally free. Let me take a quick look at what it includes. It includes short vowels, digraphs, long vowels, and some other vowel sounds. Just works really well to have movements for those particular skills. So check out that free slide deck. Again, the link is in the caption. Would love for you to grab it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful and gave you some new ideas. Before you leave, it would mean so much to me if you hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in my next video.